It was a weekend night, and my parents were out of town for a few days. I decided to invite my friend Matthew over for a sleepover. We were both 14, so the idea of having a sleepover with no parents around was too tempting to resist. Matthew arrived at 8, braving the storm that had started earlier in the day. By the time he reached my house, he was drenched. We hadn't realized how hard it was raining until then. After changing into dry clothes, we immediately fired up the Xbox and started playing. Hours passed as we cycled through different games, with no plans to stop anytime soon. We even joked about pulling an all-nighter and gaming straight through until morning. However, our plans were interrupted when we suddenly heard a loud knock at the back door. Both Matthew and I looked at each other, unsure of who could be knocking at this hour. We stayed put in the living room, not wanting to be seen by whoever was outside. A man's voice called out for help, but his words were drowned out by the sound of rain. We were too scared to answer, but also hesitant to call the police without knowing who it was or why they were there. Eventually, we decided that one of us should check to see who it was. I volunteered and peeked around the corner into the kitchen. Through the foggy darkness, I could make out the silhouette of a large figure standing by the door. However, when I returned to Matthew, the knocking had stopped, and there was no one at the door. We listened for any signs of the man for the next 10 minutes, but heard nothing. Eventually, we went back to gaming, trying to brush off the strange encounter. However, as we were about to call it a night, I noticed a pair of piercing eyes staring at me through the window. The man's face was pressed against the glass, his eyes wide open and filled with madness. I screamed, and Matthew and I ran to the other side of the house. We heard thumps by the window, as if the man was trying to open it, but then everything went quiet. Matthew called his parents, who contacted the police, but by the time they arrived, the man was gone. The officers found muddy shoe prints outside the house, confirming our story. However, the man was never identified, and he never returned. The thought of someone watching us for almost 30 minutes still sends chills down my spine. We were lucky to escape unharmed, but I can't help but wonder what would have happened if we had tried to help him. I hope that no one else falls for his trap, and that they learn from our mistakes.